Okay, so the stock bike has made it into the garage today, and it's due up for some brakes. But before I put my new brakes on, what I want to do is smooth out the surface of that rotor a little bit, because over the years, little pieces of sand or something has gotten in between the pad and the rotor, and it's made little gouges. And the little gouges aren't so bad, but what happens is at the end of the gouge, sometimes it'll pick up a little piece of metal, and so you'll have like a little burr on the rotor. And what that's doing is just going to eat the brakes more, and it also makes them squeak like it's doing right now. So nobody wants to have squeaking brakes when you pull up to the gas station or store or something like that. So we might as well take care of this while we're doing brakes. That way our new brake pads are going to last quite a bit longer. So we'll get set up on this, take the front wheel off, and see if we can't refresh our rotor and change our brake pads out. All right, so let's get set up to take this wheel off. So what I got is my little jack. I just put it partly under the motor there in the front. And I'm up on the center stand. So I just want to pick up on it. Got a piece of rubber in there. And this little jack works pretty good for this because it's got like a V in the middle of it. There we go. So we got our wheel up. Hopefully it's going to tip around a little bit. All right, so let's start by taking some brakes loose and get all that set up. All right, so let's get our brakes off of here. We get a little cover. Forget to order. This goes on top. And then it's got a sleeve in the middle and then the bolt. And then the nut on top. So we're gonna let that hang. But you can see my brakes, if I zoom in on them, what it's been doing is because of all those little picks on there, it's been eating the surface of the brake away. So these brakes been on there a few years, but we need to get them changed out, and I need to do this rotor. All right, so we got the brake loose. So now let's tip around here and take the wheel off. And you can see right here I put some little blue circles. These are just a couple of the little picks. And so if I take my nail, you can probably hear it. You hear a little pick. So those little guys are eating my brakes. So we're going to get them took off there here in just a little bit. So let's go ahead and get our wheel took off. You can take the speedometer loose, so it just comes out, and you should be able to ease the tire out of there. So as I rub my finger on it, I can feel these little picks, like right there. There's one right there. You can hear it when my nail catches it. A little pick right there. So we've got quite a few of these that are built up. What it is, it's scored, and then it built up the metal and it stopped. So there's tons of these all over this rotor. And I got to get rid of them because that's what's making my brakes squeak. All right, so let's get set up over here and see if we can smooth this down a little bit, considering that we don't have a lathe available. We're just going to sand those little bumps down, those little picks. So we got them marked, so let's get set up over here, see if we can get rid of that. All right, so we are set up on what we use to do our wheel balancing, which is in one of the other videos on how to balance your wheel cheap and easy. And what I'm going to do is use that same little setup there so I can spin it real free, because those bearings let it rotate real free. And that way I don't have to fight against the grease or anything like that that's in the bearings. I can just roll it on that. So if you want to see how that thing was made and how to balance the wheel, you can look on the channel and you'll see another video for that. So let's get started here. We'll get set up. I'll get the camera moved in so we can be a little closer, see what's going on. Alright, so we are ready to see if we can knock some of these little nibs down. So all I got is a big socket. So this is like a big old whatever millimeter socket, 35 millimeter socket, and some 120 grit. And what I want to do is, you can't really rub on it because you're gonna make little marks in it that might affect the braking. It might make it break a little and not break. So what we want to do though is get it up against it so we can start scrubbing. So all I'm going to do is just set this up against the board right here, and then when I rotate it, probably put my knee on it, then when I rotate it, then what it's going to do is rub against that surface. And so I want to just kind of set it gently on it, kind of see what it sounds like. So it sounds like the rotor is still pretty true. It's just got these little nibs on it. So all we got to do is rotate around and let it spin against that, and we'll flatten that rotor back down. And you can see, if you can see in the video, my socket is not moving at all, so my rotor is still very true. And those little blue marks that I put on there eventually should start going away. I'm just going to rotate that around. Depending on how scored up your rotor is how long you're going to have to rotate until we smooth that rotor down. So you can see my blue marks. You can see them, the blue marks are already starting to disappear. And like that one, I can't catch my nail on anymore, just after that little bit. So we'll continue on down until we get rid of our little blue marks, and hopefully we can get that surface smoothed out. Alright, so after about 10 minutes or so of sanding, you can see all the blue dots are gone and the surface looks pretty smooth now. So I just want to make sure there's no more nibs left, so I'm just going to take a razor blade and just spin it around and see if the razor blade catches on anything. So it's not catching on anything anymore after the 120 grit. It's a little rough right up here where the brakes don't touch, but that's not too big of a deal. And so now we can finish out with some 600 grit and just knock the shine back onto it. So we'll do the same thing for a little while with some 600 and just smooth it down. Alright, so we got one side done. So now what we want to do is just flip it around and do the other side. So just grab it and sit her down here, something like that. Get a couple more blocks. There we go. So now we just got to take the rotor off and do the other side. There we go. So back to our 12 millimeter. And this time we got to get it to it. Alright, so before I take the rotor off, I want to mark it so I know where to put it back, because it's balanced to the tire right now and I don't want to imbalance my tire. So I'm just going to take underneath where the clips go, I'm just going to put a blue dot under the clip so you can't see it. And then that one is going to line up with this one right here. I'm just going to put a couple dots on there, and that way we can keep up with everything. Alright, so doesn't matter how we put it back on right now, but I'll just flip it over. So now we got to do the back side. So doesn't matter that I put the dots, but I just put them the same. Alright, so we don't need all the bolts for this. We just need a couple. And as I can see right here is some more of those little tips. If I take my razor blade and put it, you see like there's one there and a big one right there. It like bumps right into it. Let's see if I get the camera down there so you can see. So like right there is a bump, and right there is a bump, and they're all over the place. So you can see that as you come around, it catches. So you'll know when you don't have the bumps took off completely, because it catches on everything as you come around. Alright, so let's set back up on our stand up here and see if we can't get this one done. Alright, so we got both sides done now. So now we just gotta put a rotor back on that. So she's all torqued down. Let's put these little things back on. So let me go get a flat punch. So when you torque it down, it might not exactly hit one, so you just have to hit the torque and then move it just a hair more. So now we're ready to reinstall our wheel and work on our brakes. Let's go ahead and get our wheel put back on. Now, got a little more room to line these little fingers up. There we go. So much easier. Alright, so he lined up. There we go. Now did we get our, see, this didn't push all the way in right there, so we must have lost our little alignment on our little teeth. As you can see, when you get that put on there the right way, this is flush. If there's a gap right there, that means those little teeth didn't line up, and when you torque it down, you're gonna tear something up. So there we are. There's our front wheel back on. Let's get the nut on it. Well, let's get the screwdriver in the screwdriver hole over here. So there we go. So now all we got to do is contend with these brakes. Right. So all we got to do is finish up here. So we get a new cotter pin because we don't want to reuse those. Now we're ready to change some pads. So before we get started on the pads, we actually need to drop the back down, because what we're going to have to do is take the top off the brakes, because it may come out. And what you want to do is have the front wheel where it won't move. Because if it's up on the stand, then it's going to move on you. What we want to make sure is over on the reservoir that when we push the caliper back, it doesn't put brake fluid all over the place and mess up our paint. So I'm going to open up the top of the master cylinder and see how low the fluid is. I may have to take a little out. You want to take it off the stand, because now at least it'll sit still, because you don't want your wheel moving and sloshing your brake fluid all over the paint job. We're pretty low, so it looks like we got enough. We can push the caliper back. Let me get the camera up here, I'll show you. In the reservoir you can see I'm a little bit low. It's because my brakes have been wearing. So I'm pretty good that I'll, when I push the caliper back, it's not going to go everywhere, but I'm going to keep an eye on it. So after I push the caliper back, we'll check back up there and make sure it didn't overflow. Alright, so back down here. So we got our C-clamp. And what we want to do, we're going to push back on that piston right there. So you can use just the pad if you can push against it. Let's get both pads up in there. And what I want to do is put something on the back so it doesn't mar up my paint. So let me get my C-clamp opened up. It's about as big as it needs to be. Now I want I squeeze on it, it should push the piston back a little bit. So I'll be able to get the new ones out. All right, so we got it pushed back a little bit. So that's what happens when you push too fast. When I clamped down too quick, what it did was squirt it out of the master up there. All right, so we got it pushed back. So now all we got to do is get our new brake pads. Alright, so now all we got to do is put this back up on there, but since up here, up on top up here, I'm going to tip the bike around. So up on top, what I want to do is put that cover back on. So I know it's going to be pulling fluid down when I pump it because I backed it up. So I'm going to go ahead and top it off, and then I'll come back and after I squeeze the brakes down, I'll come back and refill it if I need to. Now let's come back down here and reinstall the brakes. Alright, so sometimes it's fun, sometimes they go in there real easy. You got to put your brakes in. They got spring in the back here. It's got to be in there. Go in like that right there. Now we need our pin and our nut. The spacer goes right in between. The spacer sits right in between there. And it all gets tightened up. It's all tightened up. This still should be able to wiggle a little. And there we go. All we got to do is put our little cover cap back on the bottom. And we're done. Alright, so last on the list, all we want to do is just raise it up. Make sure our brakes work before we go ahead and knock down the road. Because we pushed those calipers out, so all we want to do is squeeze on the panel and get those to seat. Go. Put it back tight again. Squeeze the brake down and see if you got brakes. Yep. So our brakes are working good. Hopefully no more squeaking. So I'll back down off the jack. Be done with the jack for this project. And the only other thing to do, now that your wheel's back down, so you don't have to worry about your handlebars tipping around, is we want to take the cover back off and just check and make sure that we're full. A little bit of alcohol and wipe off any brake fluid that might have come out of our cover. So that should have it for the brake job. So now all we got to do is just fire it up, test the brakes and see what it does. Hopefully it won't squeak, and we should be in good shape. Alright, so we got a brake job done, so let's just hop on here and see if we fixed all the squeaks. couple squeaks on her front brakes. She's stopping good, so I think we'll call that done. Well, all right. Well, thanks for watching.